So let's break it down. What's going on with Lamar Jackson situation? Let's talk about details and what possibilities can happen. I think there's a lot of confusion around what's happening. So let's get this skinny. So essentially, Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens have until Wednesday, 3:30 to, or today or tomorrow, you want to put it, 3:30 to tag him. That means essentially getting him on a 1-year contract for a maximum of he could reach his maximum could be 45 million for a franchise tag. Now that will give him pretty much Baltimore rights of Lamar Jackson through the 2023 season, as well as any type of trade talks that may come between him and any other team. Now, the question is, are they going to do a franchise tag or a non-exclusive franchise tag? A non-exclusive franchise tag is a little bit cheaper. It's 32 million, but it allowed Lamar Jackson to speak to other teams. But the Ravens can match anything that any team offers to him. I don't expect them to use a non-exclusive franchise tag. The conversation from a VP, Ozzie Newsome, said today and tomorrow until 3:30, a lot of energy will be utilized in trying to get a deal done. Ravens executive VP Ozzie Newsome told the Bernie Kosar show, if not, we will put a franchise tag on him, not a non-exclusive franchise tag. Now, what does that mean and why is that important? It's important because if they do franchise tag him, there's still intention for them to. There's still intention for him to, for them to sign him for a long-term deal. So though you can place a guy on a franchise tag, you can still sign him for a long-term contract until I think July 15th, depending on when that starts. But July 15th. So big dates to remember here. They're gonna most likely, if they can't get through a deal, they're gonna franchise tag him by today 3:30 p.m. If once they franchise tag him, they still have up until around July 15th to sign him to a long-term deal until he's locked into that franchise contract with that 1-year $45 million contract. So the strategy the Ravens pretty much have are to keep Lamar Jackson as long as possible. So I think it's the smart play to franchise tag him. Here's why. Because if you franchise tag Lamar Jackson, right? They've been talking for 25 months, haven't got a deal. They last time they franchise tagged someone was Matthew Judon, who's a different type of player because Judon, I hate to say it, can be replaceable in that offense, even though he's still a dog with the Patriots. But I expect this for Ravens to franchise tag him so they can have longer trade talks. I'm sorry, longer contract talks with Lamar Jackson to get him for a long-term deal. I think it's a good play for both sides, but here's why. And I think we don't need to worry about it because here's the reason. They can see what they do in the draft. They can see what they do in free agency. They can see what they do in minicamp. They can see who they have, and they have the whole summer to work something out. Now it'll all depend on if Lamar Jackson is going to participate in any type of trainings or any type of meetings that they do have. That would, be the question. And Lamar Jackson has been shown, regardless of the contract talks, to give 110%. Now we're not going to know if anything's different because these contract talks are heading into a new year where he's coming off an injury where he wasn't protected. Before he was playing lights out, the Ravens had one of the best records in the NFL. So the question would be, how involved is Lamar Jackson going to be with who they have? Now, Eric DeCosta said this. He said it's not like we didn't know we might be in this position. Last year at this time we talked about it, so we had a full year to really discuss all different plans. We'll be making the right decision. Now, like I said, Lamar Jackson represents himself, him and his mother, right? Hey, that's a good part to keep, right? People close to you, right? Now, Eric DeCosta did say he's going to fly down to Miami and talk to Lamar Jackson personally. I don't know what that conversation is because here's the thing: are the Ravens trying to say, hey, you know what? Let's show Lamar Jackson how we're supporting him, then we can pay him less, or are they saying, hey, look, let's see who we have, and if we don't give Lamar Jackson that much, let's pay him the money. Let's see where we are looking going into summer camp, to mini camp. Let's see where we are going, through preseason, right? And if they get to a point where they can give Lamar Jackson that large purse he's looking for, that guaranteed money, he knows what he wants. He wants a fully guaranteed contract, right? And he deserves it. But the Ravens are going to try to, and this is the thing what people do, right? I hate to say, it's what business people do, and I've been in business for a while, for a long time. And this is what people do, right? People never try to give you what you want. They try to give you what they want for them. And what I mean by that is this: the Ravens aren't their conversation talks aren't, hey, we're going to give you your contract that you want. What they're going to present, they're going to pretty much take poop. They're going to put it in a bag, and then put a bow tie on it and say, here it is. It's still poop. And I think Lamar Jackson's starting to see through that. But the conversation and trade talks are something like this: hey, look at this team we built around you. That means you have to do less. Therefore, we're going to pay you less. Like, no, you pay me my worth, right? So that's what the Ravens are doing. They're trying to package the same deal, the same thing, up different. We got a new coach. We got some weapons around you. We're protecting you. But we don't know if they're actually going to do that because they have a lot of decisions to make as well too on the defensive side. So I say that because there's only a couple players that have been franchise tagged right now: Tony Pollard, Evan Ingram, and then Darren Payne that plays for Washington. Now, Washington, I know they have to buy time because they have these two guys, Jonathan Allen and Darren Payne, that are dogs in the middle. I would keep both. I would find a way to keep both of them. I think they're trying to work some things out to see what they do in the offseason to see if they have the money to pay him. Same thing with Tony Pollard, who's coming off an injury. I think that that's a tough situation, but I think Dallas' intentions are to keep Tony Pollard, especially with Ezekiel Elliott aging just in his game. Evan Ingram, I'm not sure, but the franchise tag that the Ravens is putting on simply to buy time. It's not so they can trade him. It's not a non-exclusive tag. It's simply so they can buy more time, see what they do in the offseason, and then while they have those trade talks. They may table it for a little while until after the draft, after minicamp. But like I said, it's only to buy them more time. I do not believe at all it's a trade. I think the only look to trade Lamar Jackson if it comes closer to that deadline, and they haven't come to any types of terms. So even who is it? Calais Campbell said Lamar Jackson wants a deal done with the Ravens. So and then Eric DeCosta said it takes two to tangle. But Calais Campbell said something different. Calais Campbell he said that Calais Campbell's teammate, who's also the vice president of the NFL Players Association, told NFL Network on Thursday. He said he wants to get a deal done, referring to Lamar Jackson. He wants to get a deal done. That's the most important part. Sometimes guys who are part of a team and don't want to be there anymore use free agency as an opportunity to go elsewhere. But he wants to be with the Ravens. I do think Lamar Jackson wants to be with the Ravens. I think that's why these conversations are getting so much more intense. I think that from a business decision, right? Most business people will say, yeah, look, you can't pay him that much, right? But people who know the investment and know the game will invest in a guy and support the guy around him. It's almost like this. If you buy a new car, but you don't get look, listen, I'm not this type of guy, but if you buy a car, right? I'm not gonna say that. If you buy a car, you want to get the things you need to support it, to maintain it, so it can last long. You're not going to get a nice car and then not do the things to keep up with it, right? So that's what they're saying. They're saying, hey, we want premium oil. We want an oil change every 10,000 miles. We want we want to check the brakes regularly. We want to fix up these things. It's maintenance on the vehicle that you want to take care of. You can't get get a high power vehicle and not maintain it, and that's essentially what they're saying. What Lamar Jackson is saying. If you get a high power vehicle, if you maintain it well, it's always going to do you right. And all the other small things, the interior, the lights, etc., blah, 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 whatever you do to the vehicle, it will still go and move efficiently. So that's all I'm saying. When it comes to a long-term deal, Lamar Jackson and the Ravens have to they're just trying to buy time with the franchise tag, and we'll see who they really are. End of June, beginning of July, where the contract talks are going. So we'll see what happens.